All right, let's look at this warm-up problem. Okay, so today's first warm-up, this is reviewing what happens if you have a triangle and then they draw in a parallel line. So here was the thing you needed to remember. If this is parallel, that part and that part is proportional to that part and that part. So what that means is you can set up two ratios and put them equal to each other. So on this part over here, they told you that was 4, right? They told you the whole thing was 12. Goes, everybody see where I would get an 8 from there. Okay, so I can do 4 over 8 on this side. There's my one ratio. And on the other side, I can put the x plus 2 over 4x minus 7. And then what you need to remember on here is when I cross multiply, remember these are in parentheses. So the 8 is going to be times the x plus 2. The 4 is going to be times the 4x minus 7, but you got to distribute. Can't just do it times the first part. And then now you're just solving for x. You can subtract the 8x, add the 28, divide by 8. So you get 5.5. So important thing to remember here is when this line is parallel, that splits up into proportional parts. You can put that over that equals that over that. Guys, everybody good on that? All right, let's go to today. So we're going to do this thing called dilations. All right, you may have heard of somebody going to the eye doctor and getting their eyes dilated, which means your pupils getting smaller or bigger. If you look at somebody's eyes, when they look at light, the pupil gets bigger or smaller. It's called dilated. Okay, that's where that word comes from. So the first blank says the pupil is the opening in the iris that lets light into the eye. Depending on the amount of light available, the size of the pupil changes. This process is common at the eye doctor. It is called dilation. All right, everybody got that down. Dilation. So in terms of math, the word dilate means to enlarge or reduce. So everything we're going to do today is going to take a shape, make it bigger, or make it smaller. Okay, every shape that we create is going to be similar. So dilations create similar figures. It means they're proportional. There's a ratio that we're going to use making them bigger or smaller. Okay, now this next part is what's going to be a little weird on these. A dilation is done with respect to a fixed point called the center of dilation. But the center of dilation will not always be inside the shape. They can put it anywhere. Okay, and we'll do an example and you'll see how that works. The scale factor is the ratio of the side length of the new image to the corresponding side length of its original. So basically what that's telling you is the scale factor is how much bigger or smaller it's getting. If the scale factor is bigger than 1, greater than 1, then the image is enlarged. Obviously, if the scale factor is bigger than 1, it's going to get bigger. Now this next part, it says if the scale factor is between 0 and 1, basically if it's less than 0, it can't be a negative number, then the image is reduced. It's going to get smaller. Okay, everybody get all that down? Okay, let's look at an example together. All right, so we are going to take this shape down there, and we're going to dilate it to a factor of 2, which means it's going to get twice as big. Now here is something I want you guys to circle. See where it says graph the dilated image of JKL using a scale factor of 2, and the circle the word origin. Okay, that's not something you hear every day. What does the word origin mean? That means the point 0, 0. So if they say the center is at the origin, that's 0, 0. So what we are going to do is take each one of these points from the origin right there, and make them be twice as far away. Okay? So let's look at this first one. This is point K, right? They list that as K. Is that correct? All right, so here's what they're asking you. They ask, like, what's the horizontal? No, or they do vertical first. Somebody help me out. Does it say what's the vertical distance or horizontal distance first? Vertical, thank you. All right. So what they're basically saying is when they say vertical distance, that's like my Y value. So what they're asking, to get to this point K, how far up did I go? You guys agree that it went up 1, right? So if we went up 1, and now we want to double that, a scale factor of 2, we're going to take that 1 and multiply it times 2. So instead of going up vertically 1, now we're going to go up 2. Okay, how far did we go horizontally? You guys agree it's 1. Okay, so if we're going to double that, that would be 2 also, right? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stop on that part and plot that point. So the new K, instead of going up 1 over 1 to get to K, now we're going to do what? Go up 2 over 2, and that's going to be K prime. Does everybody see where I got that point from? So the original one went up 1 over 1. We want to go twice as far, so now we're going to go up 2 over 2. And now we'll look at the next point, which is J. Okay, if I look at J, do you guys agree that J is going up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 2? You guys with me on that part? So if you were going from the center, which is 0, 0, to point K, you would go up 4 over 2, right? If we want a scale factor of 2, we take both of those and double them, multiply by 2. So what that tells us, to get the new K, instead of going up 4 over 2, we'll go up 8 over 4. And that's where my J prime would be. And then the last one we're going to do is L. Okay, L is right here. We don't go up or down at all, do we? We just go over 4. So when I double both of those, I still won't go anywhere up, right? Because 0 times 2 is 0, so that's not going to change. But instead of going over 4, I'll go over how many? 8. And that's my new L. So now this is my new shape. Oh, son of a gun. There we go. Does that make sense, everybody? So here's what happened. Let me point out just a couple things before we do another one. It's not like that shape from where it's at just got bigger, did it? It's from this center. So what it really did was it got twice as far away and got twice as big. Does that make sense? So it got bigger and further away. All right, let's turn the page. Let's do one that's less than 1. Okay, on the back, number 2 there. Graph the dilated image MNOP using a scale factor of 1/3. So here's the first key that's different. If we're using a 1/3, that shape's going to get smaller, right? But now this is what else is different. Underline the point 3, -3. That's what we're going to use for our center. So what I need you to do first, before we do anything else, is on the graph, put a point at 3, -3 so you can see it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with point M. Okay, so when we get these vertical and horizontal distances now, it's not going from 0, 0. Where's it going from? 3, -3. So first off, from this point up there to M, how far up do I go? Count that out. Should get 12, right? We're at -3 and we're going up to 9, so that should be 12 when you count it. Do you go right or left? Is there any horizontal distance? Nope, it goes straight up, correct? So we're going to take the 12 and 0, and since our scale factor this time is 1/3, what is 1/3 of 12? 4. 1/3 of 0 is still 0. So instead of going up 12, now we're only going to go up 4. That's our new point for M prime. Does that make sense, everybody, so far? Now we're going to do the same thing with N. Okay, let's look at N. It goes up 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3. So up 3 over 3. Take each one of those and multiply by 1/3 because that's our factor. Now it becomes 1 and 1, doesn't it? So instead of going up 3 over 3, we will now go up 1 over 1 to get my new N prime. Then we're going to do the same thing with O. O goes down 1, 2, 3, doesn't it? Now, if you want to, somebody's asked this before, this is a good question. If you wanted to make that negative or not, it's up to you. Negative, when you're talking about like this, is just direction. So if you understand you're going down and you keep it positive, you'll be fine. Does that make sense? You just got to remember that if I'm going down, I would continue to go down. But do you guys agree that this goes down 3, but does not go right or left? We take 1/3 of each of those, and we're going to go down 1 to get my new one. So right here is O prime. And then last but not least, we'll do P. P, I would go up 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry. I would go up 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You guys agree when you count that? To get from the center over the P, we would go up 3 over 6. If we take 1/3 of both of those, I would go up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2 to get my P prime. And now I connect those points, and we just did a reduction. That bigger shape got smaller. That makes sense, everybody? That's not too bad, is it? Hey, can I ask you a question? What are we really taking the scale factor? You're multiplying it by the what? What's that just like? Is it just like slope? It's essentially the same thing, isn't it? And there's a reason for that, all right? Go down to 3A. Now, they're giving you both shapes. Now, remember this. On every one I started with, the first letter did not have a tick mark, so that's your original. The new ones are supposed to have a tick mark. That's your prime. So you're always going from the one without a mark to the one with the mark. So in this case, do you guys think, are we getting bigger or are we getting smaller? It's supposed to have the tick marks on the smaller ones. So therefore, this is not an enlargement. This is a reduction. So let's circle reduction first. Does everybody agree that the shape is getting smaller? Okay, next thing we want to do is find the center. Here's how you can find the center. Now, everybody look up here at my picture real quick. If you ever want to find the center once the shape's on there, see P and P prime are like right there. Okay, take a straight edge, draw a line through those 2 points. Draw a line through the M and N prime. You draw a line through N and N prime. Draw a line through O and O prime, and it will go through the center. So what I want you guys to do right now is draw a line through M prime, N prime, P prime, O prime, and then write down where does it cross.